That second stanza, he will wash away my sin. Let the little child come in. Is that close to teaching baby infant baptism?
No, I think it's a reference to how when we come up out of the waters of baptism, we're like a child, and
Innocent?
yeah, Jesus said, unless we become like little children, we won't. You know,
I hope that's what it is. It just kind of hit me just then as we sang it.
of course, you can spend it any way you want to, but I think that that's us becoming as little children to learn the gospel and stuff, and to grow, and as
Yeah.
yeah, that's what it really means.
Joshua chapter 24, verse 15 is a statement from Joshua about how him and his household will conduct themselves. And if it seem evil unto you to serve the Lord, choose you this day whom you will serve, whether the gods which your fathers served that were on the other side of the flood, or the gods of the Amorites, in whose land you dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. What's one of the subjects taught in that verse? I guess at the very beginning. Choice. What are we going to choose? You know, tonight you made some choices. Through the day, we make choices. What are some of the choices that you've made recently?
Whether to go to work or not.
Whether to go to work or not? What?
Be here tonight.
Be here? That's a choice, isn't it?
I made a choice to go straight instead of turn and got in a wreck.
Well, so was that a wrong choice?
Apparently so.
But wait a minute. You wasn't the one that caused the wreck, right?
No, but I was the one that got hurt.
He made the wrong choice of not paying attention to what he was doing. You didn't make a wrong choice, did you? Not really.
But we can be the I don't know what word to use, but I guess we could be the result of somebody's we could be the consequences of somebody's wrong choice, I guess, so to speak.
An accomplice?
Not accomplice, a consequence.
The consequence of choices?
The result, I don't know, it's like somebody makes a bad decision to turn in front of traffic and we run into them, then that's the result of their wrong choice. We're affected by that. We're affected by people's wrong choices.
In our society, it's not as safe as it used to be. How many shooters are there? How many drunk drivers that get behind the wheel and go down the wrong path? I saw a cartoon the other day, and this guy was calling his friend, "Hey, Joe, I've heard on the news that Highway 56 is got a guy driving the wrong way." And he says, "What do you mean? I've got 100 driving the wrong way." You get it? He was the one that was going down the wrong way on that highway. I'll never forget a situation in Abilene, Texas, where a person was going in the wrong direction. And they were trying to get this person's attention, stop them, and several wrecks took place. And one man was going from car wreck to the injured people. And this man, I don't remember all the details so long ago, but he told the one that was trying to comfort him, he says, I know I'm dying. I'm okay. You go take care of somebody else. In life, our choices can affect others. I told someone recently I wouldn't want any of my choices to cause someone to make to go the wrong way, either by accident on my part or just outright rebellion or disobedience. That someone could show up in eternity and say, that man caused me to lose. I think we all need to be careful with our choices because it will have an effect on, on us, on our immediate family, upon our friends and neighbors. And wouldn't it be heartbreaking to know that something we did wrong by accident or on purpose? David was telling me today, did you hear about the baseball player sitting in the bullpen? He was a pitcher, and he was waiting to be called to enter the game. And he was sitting there, and all of a sudden, a bullet goes into his chest, out of the blue. Well, they found out where it came from. They were hunting those two individuals. There had been a domestic conflict in the neighborhood, and that bullet, they said it traveled 400 yards. Can a bullet travel that far? Something like that.
I said, how much strength does a bullet have? I don't know what kind of gun it was.
Yes, depends on what caliber it is, what grain. Rick could probably tell us. A 50 caliber bullet, how far will it travel?
2 miles.
2 miles. Well, I asked David, did the man survive? Or did it kill him? And he said he was in the hospital, he was going to survive. So maybe it was on its downward path, losing its velocity or power. And I said, how far did it go in his chest? David said, I don't know. But he was in the hospital and they removed the bullet. And I said, what an unfortunate accident. Now, let's see if you catch on. Was it an accident?
Well, all 5 are in jail right now.
Are they? I'm talking about a situation where a bullet was fired and it came down and hit that baseball player in the ballpark. And he was innocent. He survived. Was that being at the wrong place at the wrong time? It wasn't his choice. He was sitting there.
But it was the result of somebody else's actions.
It was the result of somebody else's action. There's laws against shooting a gun in the air. And I first heard that and I said, what would it hurt? Well, there's a perfect example. And David said, no, it's not an accident. And I was arguing with him. Yeah, it was. It's an accident. That guy didn't intend to shoot that baseball player.
But he intended to shoot somebody else.
He pulled that trigger on purpose. Maybe wasn't malicious, wasn't intent to kill that guy, but he intended to kill somebody. So it wasn't an accident.
It kind of reminds me of that when the talks about in the Bible, I don't remember what, maybe in like the Leviticus or Deuteronomy, somewhere around there, where somebody's out chopping some wood or something and he loses control of his axe and it stabs somebody. And then he has to go and run off to the city of refuge until they figure out that it was an accident. Something like that. Devin might know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah, but that was without That was
Without
basically
malicious
what we
intent.
would call manslaughter. It was
Yeah,
no intent.
manslaughter.
Yeah.
No intent. I'm
The
sure.
guy would be held, in this case, on deadly conduct.
Okay,
Yeah.
ladies, did y'all solve it?
No, we come in late, we had to
come in
get
late.
clarification.
That's
We
okay.
just thought you meant he just shot it up in the air, and I'm like, well, how was that on purpose?
They were in a battle, a gun battle, and that
We got that. She
one
was
went.
Collateral damage, I guess.
I'm trying
Yeah.
to figure
I'm
out
gonna
how he
call
was
it.
guilty from just shooting it.
Well, we were at my parents' place at Santa Ana, was looking at picture albums that they'd have on a shelf, and I was looking through one, and I came across something inside that picture album, a bullet. We surmised that somebody was deer hunting not far away, and that shot went through that wall and into that album, and there was that bullet.
That's what happened here in Sherman, that gun range had to close down or something because that housing addition, somebody was at the gun range and it went through a lady's window at the housing addition and shot her wall or something.
Yeah.
So they had to shut it down.
Had to shut it down and get it
Yeah.
remodeled, huh?
Those are private gun range.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, getting behind a car, wheel of a car, shooting. I've gone to several gun ranges on somebody's property and shooting against a big old berm, and all of a sudden you shoot and hear that bullet ricochet, and it's going somewhere, and it could hit somebody or it could hit a cow. They had cows there. I don't want to have to pay for a cow that I accidentally shot. But we're talking about choices. There's murder with malice. That's intent. That's on purpose. That's choosing to do someone harm. Manslaughter is your car got out of control. You had a blowout and you have a wreck and someone dies. Well, you're going to pay the consequences, but it's not as severe. Manslaughter. So, choices. I was asking, what are some of the choices you make in life? Who you marry? I have an example of that. I like what this guy says. Choices? I choose love. And he says, no occasion justifies hatred. No injustice warrants bitterness. I choose love. Today, I will love God and I will love what God loves. Philippians 4, verse 8. If there's any virtue, think on these things. We have a choice, don't we? To concentrate on the positive, the good, and not the negative or evil. You know what? If we're not careful, we'll get caught up in society and what's going on in the world, and we will just be mad at the world. I get mad at the choices of politicians. I read something on Facebook today. The man said, "You know what? We just voted, and many of us voted against it." And he says, "They're going to pass it no matter what we voted." It'll make you mad, won't it? I choose joy. I will recognize my God in all circumstances. If we believe that God is in control, what are we worried about? If we believe God's promise that we do what he says and are faithful till the point of death, Revelation 2:10, you'll receive a crown of life. Why do we get so upset about things? Especially things we can't do anything about. I will refuse the temptation to be cynical. What is cynical?
Crazy?
No,
No. Manipulative?
no. Donna, what's cynical?
Cynical's kind of like hard to believe stuff.
Nope.
I'd say it's more like, not like a Debbie Downer type person, but more like a groveler.
I think you're getting it. A cynic, he's one that's a pessimist, always the negative. It's not, a glass is not half full, it's half empty. Everything is bad. Everything is not to my liking. Inferior. That's what that is. I refuse to see people as anything less than human beings. What do we look at? When you see the comments about people at Walmart at midnight, we laugh. Do we think, what's coming out of the woodwork at night? All kinds of,
It's really hard not to wonder about that.
yeah.
When you see those pictures.
Well, Walmart ain't open at midnight no more, so you don't have to worry.
Well,
Say Jack in the Box.
are we judgmental about people? No. Oh, that person is completely lost. No hope. How dare we do that? I choose peace. I will forgive. Anybody hold grudges?
I'll try not to.
I choose patience. Here's a big one.
That works.
When you're getting your button pushed and you're getting angry and you're about to, have a temper tantrum and you want to give somebody a piece of your mind. Wait a minute, slow down. What's the best action? Well, I choose kindness. I choose goodness. I choose faithfulness. I choose gentleness. I choose self-control. And that goes back down to the very fact we're free moral agents. What if God didn't give us a choice? Trevor? If you didn't have a choice, what would you be? Would everybody be the same?
Probably.
We'd be a robot. We have orders coming in, remote, or we might be connected by a wire, and we're told what to do, where to go, and we don't have a choice. That's what a slave is. He has no possessions. He has no freedom to choose. Philemon was writing a letter in behalf of Onesimus, a runaway slave. And he sends this letter. Philemon is the owner. Paul is the one speaking in behalf of Onesimus. He says, he's our brother. He may have run away as a slave, but now he's our brother. And if there's a debt that you want him to pay, I, Paul, will pay that. That's a good choice. Talked about Joshua. He was the leader of his family. We have influence on people. You have influence on Teague and Kendall, don't you? You're helping them. A lady was feeding her 2-year-old daughter lunch. And she actually gave her a choice between chicken and meat, maybe a hot dog. Do you give a kid multiple choices? Well, I've got 15 things here. What do you want? They'd never pick. They don't have the maturity to pick. But we have multiple choices. In fact, sometimes I get so frustrated going to a store and here's all these options, you know, sugar free, uh, all those things,
Caffeine free.
caffeine free,
Diet.
diet, you know, just put one thing out there, and then when you get used to going to where you pick up your thing, they change everything up. You can't find it. You know. Turn to Proverbs 2.
That's where patience comes in, Greg.
Those people's that upper leadership at Walmart that designed the new Walmart layout, he needs to ask us first, right?
So that every time you go into Walmart, it's
You
the
have to
same.
look.
No, it's the
And
same.
they want to, well, I know, but if it's been the other way for a while, then you gotta look around, spend more money.
All right, Proverbs 2, verse 1. All right, how do we make right choices? You got to have some knowledge. You got to know if there's some warnings, if there's some punishment, if there's some rewards. You know, in life, does it matter what college you go to? Does it matter what you drive, a Ford or a Plymouth or a Chevrolet? Some people battle over that. Does it matter what hospital you go to? What doctor you pick? What, you know? Some of them have immediate results, some don't.
Sometimes you just have to take what you get.
Depends on what parents give you, huh?
Oh no.
I got a Volkswagen Bug, my first car. I loved it. I said Proverbs 2, verse 1. I'm still trying to get there. Proverbs 2, verse 1. Wisdom from God is going to set the conditions. It's going to set the parameters. When I had to make a choice, if it's about something uncomfortable or something familiar, what am I going to do? I will pick the familiar. In serving God, we don't want to go out of our comfort zone and, you know, go to my neighbor and talk to him about Jesus. Not everybody can do that. I realize that. What?
That's what I do when I'm driving, and I got a certain way I like to go places. And then my wife will be like, "Why don't you go this way?" And I was like, "Because I'll get lost."
Well, Karen drives different than I do. One day I was riding with her, and she was going this way, and I said, "Where in the world are you going?" "I like this street. It passes all that construction and all that traffic, and this is nice and private and quiet. I go that way now." Learn something from her. She don't know that. But, you know, okay, look at my son, if you will receive my words and hide my commandments with thee. What we find here in this chapter is if and then. If you do this, then here's the result. If we choose right, the result's good. If we choose bad, the result is not so pleasant, you know. So the if here is if you receive my words. Well, is there anybody in this world not receiving his words? Too many. The multitude's going straight to torment, hellfire. Might as well say it. How can you hide? One version says lay up. Lay up in your heart, your mind, my commandments, so that you incline your ear unto wisdom and apply thine heart to understanding. So here, the words of God, understanding, well, wisdom and understanding. Nehemiah 8, verse 8, it says that the leadership called the people together to read the word to them and to give them understanding. That's what Bible class is all about. And you know what? That's all about evangelism. I wrote some words from this one man's study. I liked it so much. He asked them, "Are you confident about your salvation?" Right, point blank. Are you confident where you're going? Yeah, I'm confident. I know what I know. I know what I've done to obey. And he throws the scripture out. Wait, I didn't know that. Oh, you're not so confident anymore, huh? Of course, you don't say that to him, but
I think it's important to let the church determine our choices, keep our focus on the church and how our choices affect the church, and then
okay.
let that be our guide, you know.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Who determines truth? Does the church establish doctrine,
Well,
or does the teaching of Christ determine
I think,
church?
well, you know what I mean.
I know. I'm not. I'm bringing that out
Okay.
with what you said.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'm not bringing it down on your head. I'm sorry if it seemed
Oh,
like
that's all
that.
right.
Okay, so wisdom and understanding. What's next? Verse 3. Yea, if thou cry after knowledge. When I think of somebody crying, what do you think of? They're hurting. They're tormented. They have a nightmare. They, disappointed. When in the Old Testament people cry to God, they're asking for help. They're pleading, God, help us. They're looking for what He gives. So that simply means they're seeking truth. So the Word brings wisdom to help you have understanding. Then you know what to choose. You know what you want. I want what God offers. Lifted up, you've lifted up your voice for understanding. If you seek her as silver and search for her as for a hidden treasure, then, see, there's, how many times did it say if? Verse 1, if. Verse 3, if. Verse 4, if. There, it's a stipulation. If you do this, now here's the results. Then shalt thou understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. The Lord gives wisdom. Out of His mouth comes knowledge and understanding. How do you get wisdom? Study the Word, and it comes. You know what comes with choices? Boundaries. We as Christians are free moral agents. I'm glad we have the right to choose. Have you ever chosen and then it ended up saying, oops? Do you like hearing the word oops? I've said it. But does oops have to be final? No. You say oops, you're still alive. I hope you don't say that at judgment, facing God. Depart from me. Oops, what did I do wrong? You'll find out. Those choices allow us to reject some answers. Think about Adam and Eve. What were they provided? What was that paradise? They had everything. Yeah. And you get right down to it. Here's all these fruit trees. Eat and have your pleasure, whatever. These are for you. But don't eat of that tree. What does that do to some people? I know for some kids, you can go anywhere in this house, but that room, my bedroom, you got to stay out of it.
Or don't touch the stove.
Don't touch the stove. Ow, it burned me. You know, I don't know why we're like that. Pete, you know why? We have that tendency. What are we seeking? I want control of my life. But God has control, doesn't he? He's given us the information, the knowledge. Now choose.
Isn't there a proverb that says a man's heart guides his way, but God directs his steps, or something like that? I don't remember.
Yeah, there's plenty of verses that talk about directing our place. And so when we make the choice and it ends up wrong, who gets the blame? God, my parents, my best friend. We you know, here's these first parents. There was an area off bounds, don't go there. And their choice should have not been very difficult.
Sometimes we think we make the right choice, but it turns out to be the wrong choice.
Wait a minute. He said, sometimes we make the wrong choice and it ends up being wrong.
Sometimes we think we're making the right choice, but it turns out to be the wrong choice.
Sometimes we think we're making the right choice. What happens when what actually happens in such a case? You haven't asked enough questions. You haven't done your research. What's the fanciest car that has every gadget?
Tesla. Yeah, that's an expensive car.
Do you know about those batteries?
Yeah.
Do you know that they have a lifespan? My old Toyota's 2009. How many years is that? And it's still going? And it could go to 300, 400,000 miles. That sounds pretty long lasting to me. But what's the other car that had a Prius? Karen's daddy had a Prius. And he got rid of it because he heard that those batteries could go out any minute, and it cost $7,000 to get them replaced. Now, that was back several years ago. I don't know what they cost now. Now, technology, batteries are better, stronger,
And more expensive.
and more expensive. I know one thing. I've been looking at solar, and the best batteries are the Tesla batteries to combine with your panels on the roof. But you'll be paying 25 years or more for them. I won't outlive that. So he has restrictions. He wants control. God draws boundaries. Look at Exodus 19. I tell you what, we're out of time. Look at Psalms 119, verse 98. Psalms 119. That's the longest chapter. Why is it the longest chapter?
It's got the most verses.
It's got the most verses.
It's a song all about the word.
It's the Hebrew alphabet, and each has a point. But anyway, you, through your commandments, God, make me wiser than my enemies. I like that. I understand more than the ancients because of your precepts. Listen, I have restrained my feet from every evil way, that I may keep your word. Restrictions. I restrain. I make a choice. Don't go there. Like Sunday night, I was talking about talking to yourself. James was kind of funning on that a little bit. He says, "You know, I do that all the time." He says, "James, why did you do that?" And I say, "I don't know." I thought that was kind of funny. No. Who's in control? Ultimately, God. But right now, who's in control of your life this very minute? You, yourself, and I. There's no, you can't point fingers. It's your fault.
I'm not very happy with the choice.
Adam says, God, the woman, you gave that woman to me. You know what? We can make all the excuses we want, but it's up to our choice. What are you doing with your life? What are you doing for the kingdom of God? It's scary in one way, but it's a privilege. It's we can live up to this responsibility. We can do it. How many examples do we have in the New Testament of righteous men who practice such? You know, free moral agent, we choose how we want to live. Without God's word, we have no design, we have no plan, no information. God's word, we're accountable. And with that knowledge, it's important to decide to live our lives in preparation for standing before God's throne. I think every day, if you picture yourself at that judgment, and you're about to receive the final answer, while you're alive, what can that do? Make you more alert, more decisive, points you to right decisions. Thanks for the lesson tonight. Thank y'all for listening. Choices. You're making them. Good night.